Our next presentation is Margit from LiquidLandscape.
Hi, so my name's Margit Zwemer. I'm one of the co-founders of a San Francisco-based financial technology company called LiquidLandscape. I'm out here in New York for the week, and my co-founder's back in San Francisco, so that's me up top. David, our contact info, would love to talk to anyone who doesn't get a chance to talk tonight. But a bit like our last speaker, we're focused on, okay, what do people pay for right now? They'll pay a lot of money for data feeds, especially real-time, low-latency data, and that's quite hard from a technological perspective to handle. It's also quite hard from just a basic human cognition standpoint. I'm coming from this from the perspective, I'm a former high-frequency vol trader based out of Hong Kong, and I had one of those walls of screens. So it's not just what is the challenge of building a technological system that can handle real-time data well, but also how do you get that information to the end user in a way where they can comprehend it and react to it quickly. I spent my associate years terrified of going to the bathroom, let alone getting lunch, because you sneeze and a market crashes on you. So our solution to this was to start, and we started about 1.5 years ago, building out a core data infrastructure for handling real-time financial data. So LiquidLandscape Core, here I don't need to read this for you, but there were basically 3 main functions we wanted to support, which we felt applied to a wide variety of product classes and really any source of real-time data. And those are being able to monitor those feeds in real time, so not having a lag, being able to do some kind of simple alerting system based on that. So I've used for alerting systems everything from things that would pop up in your IM or email to hack together spreadsheets to random scripts running in the background, and there's just layers and layers and layers of this stuff. And third is a data visualization piece. So while that's not technically, that's more of a nice to have, but it is one where when you've been out of finance for a few years, so I left finance in, I think, 12 maybe, came to Silicon Valley, worked in a machine learning startup for a couple of years, and really kind of had my mind blown on how good the technology had gotten for handling real-time data in other domains, specifically advertising, a lot of in-game stuff, and social media. So we definitely pillaged, unapologetically. I think it was, Steve Jobs said, if you're going to steal, steal from the best, and trying to take both UI and user interaction ideas and also, when available, open source frameworks from some of those other areas. So this is really what we architected. The idea is to have this core API that does the monitoring, alerting, and visualization processing, be able to plug in multiple data sources, so Bloomberg, Reuters, proprietary stuff, and then be able to use that and quickly dog food it into a series of apps. Because the challenge with FinTech, it's not only, I think as probably many of you have encountered, FinTech, especially enterprise FinTech, is considered a brutal space to be in as a startup. You have these giant entrenched companies, lots of legacy software, and not always a culture of working with startups or working with the newest technology. I remember having to, get special dispensations to get R installed on my work computer. So the idea was we've partnered with Bloomberg that they've launched, have people heard of this, the Bloomberg App Store? Show of hands, anyone heard of it? Okay, a couple of you. Idea is similar to, the iTunes App Store or Android. So anything where a third-party developer can build an app, it's been vetted by Bloomberg, it consumes their data, and then by typing apps on your terminal, you come to this front page where there's a bunch of third-party software listed. So this is our initial sales channel. I'm happy to answer any questions about working with that platform or business for anyone after the show. And so what we did is we took that core and we dog fooded it into our first product, which if you've got terminal access, type in apps, Liquid Go, and you'll get to the main page. But the idea was, since my background's equity derivatives, we started by building a volatility surface app that not only consumes all the vol data coming from Bloomberg for a series of securities, but does a lot of monitoring in the background, so saying, how has this changed over different time lags? How has this changed relative to another surface? How has this changed if I tweak the model or overlay the volume data or overlay the spread data or something else? So yeah, we launched this. It's been in private beta since spring of this year, and we made it publicly available starting in mid-August. So again, I encourage anyone to check it out. We're offering free previews, and email me and tell me you were at this thing, and I'm happy to extend it past the 30 days. So depending on how we're doing at time, I can fire up a demo copy of that, or I'm happy to answer any questions on business model, technology, whatever people are kind of wondering about. Okay, cool. Let me shut this and see if I can fire up a demo. I'm going to be running a standalone version since I wasn't sure if I'd be able to connect to Bloomberg from here, so let's cross our fingers and hope this works. Okay, so this is actually done unrecorded data, just again, because I didn't want to have to do a live connection. But what you get if you go to Apps Liquid Go is you get these two windows. The first of them is this little small component, which is actually a Bloomberg Launchpad component, so you can embed it within a larger dashboard. We ended up doing that because one of the feedbacks we got from our early beta testers was, hey, I like this product, but I've already got all my screens filled. I'm not going to devote another entire screen to using this. And so, okay, make it so it can run minimized most of the time and just have a little ticker in the background telling me when I need to look at it. Again, one thing that happened to me when I got out of finance and into a more consumer-focused company was things like product testing, which I had never actually heard of before. It was, I'd get some technology from the office in Paris, and it was, use this. If it crashes, yell at someone. And the idea of saying, hey, I'm going to sit down with my user, interview them for 5 minutes, see what they click on, see if they can figure out. Again, it was sort of a new paradigm for me. So, okay, you also have this main window. And for people who've dealt with Bloomberg, so our core language is Enclosure. For the Bloomberg app, it needs to be .NET wrapper, so you're looking at WPF right now. And for the 3D graphics, we're talking, for anyone who cares about that stuff, it's Microsoft DirectX, which is basically their proprietary version of OpenGL. And for the versions of this we run that aren't within the Bloomberg sandbox, it's WebGL browser-based kind of thing. So basically, Chrome frame with not an actual browser, but all that tech embedded. So what you're looking at now is actually the recorded surface for IBM. And I'm going to put this down. So yeah, what you're looking at is the implied volatility surface for IBM. You see here on the little monitor, we're actually monitoring a couple of different feeds, and it looks like the Apple one's actually a lot more active, so we could switch over to that. Again, nothing too complicated. What you're seeing overlaid with the colors is the idea that we wanted to show how the surface was changing over time. So we use the color palette to show those reds and yellows are where it's moved down over the past 5 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever time period you want to define. And the ones going up are the blues. The other main thing we wanted this to be able to support is the idea of being able to do an instant replay. So it's already a hard problem to capture tick data as it comes in, accurately store it, and query it later. But what we wanted was something almost in the nature of a YouTube live streaming video, where it's saying, hey, I want to go back to any point in this data. You see this little slider down here? And just simply drag it back to whenever a past event occurred. So right now, this only has access to the data it captures in real time. Eventually, we're going to hook up some historical stuff if there's demand for that. But really wanting to say, when I'm on a trading floor, I don't want to have to write a long query when my markets are moving fast. I definitely don't want to wait till end of day for this to be cleaned and stuck in a database somewhere where my backtester can get it. I want something that's integrated into my workflow and is something that's as easy to use as a consumer product. I could talk about a few other features, but again, it's fairly simple. You can create alarms, so we've got a really simple interface for just saying, hey, tell me when this ratio changes, when a difference changes, when a moving average changes, something like that. And it logs every time those events occur in real time, gives you a feed, kind of like a little Twitter feed that says, hey, these events have just gone off. We have some other options for changing how this view works. For, maybe you want to see what the volume's doing on that surface. Or you want to see where, there's some extra size on the bid. So it's the idea that you have all these feeds of data. You have a lot more than just 3 dimensions of data. How can I see all of this at one time? How can I interact with it and drill down? And how can I make it so that it's very easy to build another app for a slightly different type of data without having to rebuild an entire stack from scratch? So I'll wrap that up here. I'm happy to take any questions, and I'll make you stop doing this. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Margit?
Oh, so I'm John Halloran. I was just going to borrow Aman's question from earlier, who is your target market? Is it really all about vol, or do you have other a lot of other use cases as well?
We're starting with vol. We're also, one thing we've been asked for is, can we start incorporating portfolio data? And there's really two big challenges to doing a fintech startup, or at least in my perspective. One is getting access to data of the quality you need without having to pay an arm and a leg. We luckily have a Bloomberg developer license, but even then, it's still our biggest expense. The second one is getting users who can install it on their machine. So right now, it's been our ideal user, has a Bloomberg terminal, say front office sales and trading. Most of the early pickup has been flow sales and people who are okay with using Bloomberg's embedded vol model rather than wanting to customize it. The next step from there is basically, in some ways, using this as a proof of concept and say, hey, this is the kind of work we do. We can do plenty of other feeds besides vol. Do we want to do an FX version? Do we want to do a portfolio version? Do we want to take it into some other area? And that's where it's still a discovery process. It's, do people want to just use the API for their in-house team? And so we end up selling it to kind of the quant dev groups. Or is it a case where we come in, customize the app for a particular firm, but still it's only for their vol traders or only for their FX traders?
What else have you thought about implementing this visualization with? What other types of data, if any?
Oh, yeah. So we're actually just released a version that does commodity options, and next stop is probably going to be FX stuff, both because of volume of data and speed of data. So that seemed like a fairly good place to target. Other side is there's a lot of stuff I'd love to do with portfolio data, but that's a matter of kind of one integration at a time. So it's either finding a software provider who does PMS systems or something, or finding some kind of format that people are willing to port their data into, which is a lot more of a slog. So it's basically, we're starting with the market data sources and then trying to move up the value chain into getting more proprietary models and more proprietary data sources as people get used to the tool and are more willing to trust us to do integrations.
Okay, Margit, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.